Hey there, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Sales Without the BS. I'm your no BS host, Troy Harrison, the Sales Navigator, and this week we're going to talk about some of the biggest issues in sales. I got a great one for our main issue that probably going to make you laugh a little bit, and we're going to attack it from a couple of different levels. Then, from my feed, we're going to talk about three of the things that really grabbed my attention on my social media feed this week, and then finally, we're going to have a great quick win for you at the end of this show, so make sure you hang on for all of it. Let's start with the main issue. And actually, when I first saw this, I thought that I was actually going to just put it in from my feed, talk about it for a minute or two, get on with our lives. But I don't think I can really do that for a couple of reasons. Number one, it points out something very, very important about the use of AI. And number two, something came to my attention. I actually posted this on LinkedIn last week. Got a lot of great discussion on it, and there was some conversation. So let's talk about it. And it's this. This ad came up on my Facebook feed last week, and I just kind of said, whoa, let's read it together, shall we? I don't mean to alarm anyone, but AI can now replace entire marketing team for the price of Netflix. Zeely creates you ads, videos, and posts in minutes. No team, no stress, no delays, and no overthinking. 70% off now. Oh boy. Okay. So, first of all, we can all agree that's pretty much crap, right? We've got spelling errors, marketing instead of marketing. We've got creates you ads instead of creates your ads, or whatever the hell it was they were trying to say there. But hey, at least it's 70% off. So let's get into this a little bit. If you have done much work at all with AI, particularly AI images, you know that AI images can be a little bit sketchy when it comes to spelling errors. And so it honestly didn't surprise me a lot when I saw this. The only thing that surprised me is that somebody actually let it out as an advertisement. And of course, what it's saying, at first read, what it's saying to me is, well, if you actually use our platform for your marketing, you're going to get crappy misspelled stuff just like this one. And my reaction was, wow, did a human being not even look at that and say, whoa, wait a minute, we can't let this out? And so I posted on LinkedIn, and the post was all about how you need to make sure that you edit your AI. Remember, I'm a fan of AI here, guys. This is not me being a Luddite. This is not me saying, oh my God, AI is going to take over the world or anything like that. It's just me saying that AI is an intern. I've said this many, many times. AI is an intern, has a great IQ. It has 20 PhDs, but it has no street smarts whatsoever. And like any intern, you've got to make sure that you edit the work that you get before you release it out for public consumption, or you're going to look like a jackass. Because you are going to have those you can have grammatical errors, you can have spelling errors, you can have factual errors, and grammatical and spelling, again, mostly those are with images. Most AI programs are pretty good when it comes to text content creation. You guys know Claude's my favorite that I work with, but most AI programs are pretty good at that. But when it comes to images, I've seen some really horrendous stuff in images. So you've got to edit it, make it yours, and make it right before it comes out. So that was my post. And I thought it was a pretty good post, got a lot of good reaction on it. And then about halfway through, after about a day, somebody popped on there and says, hey, man, you got taken in. They 100%, this is called engagement bait, and 100%, they actually meant for it to go out like this so that people would laugh at it, people would react, it would get hits in the algorithm, people would share it out. And by the way, you actually played into them because it worked. You were dumb enough to share it out on LinkedIn. Okay, so let's go with this premise for a moment. Let's say that it is possible that that's what they were trying to do. And I said, okay, so let me see if I understand this. The idea is I'm going to put out something crappy so that people are going to laugh at it and share it. And by sharing it, that somehow is going to provoke people to want to spend money with me. And they said, well, did you click through? Yeah, I clicked through just to make sure it was a real company and not a parody. But I would never, ever, ever consider spending any money. And it actually became a debate where some of these guys who thought they were smarter than everybody else, and yes, smarter was intentional, they felt like this was a great strategy because you post junk, it gets out there, people start talking about your stuff, and then somehow or another, it was never really defined how, you convince people that you're actually good at what you're doing and you're just doing this ironically, and you build customer trust that way. And my comment was, well, it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it works out for them. Look, there are a lot of gimmicks out there that are designed to help you just get views or clicks or engagement or even callbacks. We've even talked about some of them on this space before. There's the old cold call gimmick where you just call somebody and you leave a name and a number because you're trying to fool somebody into thinking that it's a customer and not somebody trying to sell to them. And usually what happens is when they call you back, they figure out you're a salesperson, they end up pissed off. And not only do you not get the appointment, you probably don't ever get the opportunity to sell to them again. Here's my advice to you. Whether you're talking about sales, whether you're talking about marketing, sorry, that was intentional. Play it straight. In sales, we want to demonstrate our excellence from the moment that we begin talking to somebody. That doesn't mean that we can't be human. That doesn't mean we can't have a sense of humor and sometimes be a little self-deprecating, but you don't want to put out the idea that, hey, our stuff is crap just to get somebody to talk to you and then have to make that flip and say, oh, no, we're actually good. My advice to you, first of all, again, play it straight. If you're using AI image generation, which I do from time to time, it actually works pretty well. If you're using AI image generation, make sure you edit what you get. If you are using AI to assist you in creating content, posts, whatever, edit it. Make sure it's right. Make sure it's authentic. And if you're trying to play engagement bait games, I think probably this is something that somebody in their marketing dreamed up to try and put their stamp on it without really thinking it through. Your marketing and your sales messages have to harmonize, and those have to harmonize with your overall message of excellence. So that is my best advice to you. Be careful with your marketing because you don't want spelling errors as part of it. All right, now it's time for one of my favorite sections, which is From My Feed. The first thing we're going to talk about on From My Feed is something, this actually just popped up this morning. I actually had another one ready to go for this video, and then this popped up, and I could not talk about it. Let me read this to you. Reviewed a sales call this morning. The rep handled every objection perfectly, and he still lost the deal. The loss didn't happen at the end of the call. It happened in the first 2 minutes before a single objection was raised. Now, I have to be honest with you. As I'm reading this, I'm on board with this guy because I'm thinking he's going to say that the rep didn't start out asking questions. Whew, was I wrong? He never set the frame, no agenda, no agreed upon outcome. No, here's how this conversation is going to work. He just started pitching. Okay, what he's talking about is that old upfront contract crap. And I actually delved into the upfront contract and why it sucks on a sales without the BS a few weeks ago. And I'll actually put a little card here to link that if you want to learn more about that. He just started pitching. So when objections came, he was already playing defense on the prospect's terms. Every rebuttal he landed still left him one step behind. Most reps obsess over closing techniques, better rebuttals, smarter comebacks. The perfect response to send me more info, but closing isn't one at the end of the call. It's one in the opening 2 minutes when you establish who's leading the conversation. Frame control isn't a tactic, it's the foundation everything else is built on. If you don't own the structure, you don't own the sale. Whew, good God, what a load of horse hockey. Okay. Here's the thing, gang. I'm going to break something to you that this guy has not figured out. You ready? You never control the sale. You never control the sales call. Here's why I say that. Control belongs to the person who can unilaterally end the discussion and launch you out of their office, and that's not you. That's the customer. The customer always has control over what that call is going to be. Now, what we can do is seek influence. We seek influence by asking good questions, by engaging with our prospect instead of trying to lead them around by the earlobe. We gain influence by providing them expertise that they wouldn't have otherwise had. And we gain influence by creating a comfortable environment. And remember, comfortable customers buy. We never, ever have control. Salespeople have been fooling themselves into thinking they can control the sale for decades. Guess what? We can't. Your customer is the star of the show. This control the frame crap, this upfront contract crap, it's all about salespeople who think they can be the stars of the show. You're not the star of the show. Your customer is the star of the show. And the reason that I put this here is honestly, it just amazes me that people are still peddling this crap in 2026. You want to have a good sales call? Open in a professional manner, and it is okay to say, it is okay to bring them back to why they agreed to the sales call. It's okay to say, when we talked on the phone, here was the conversation that generated this appointment. And then ask questions, get to know the customer, get to know the customer's definition of success. Here's the real reason why this guy failed. He was worried about rebutting objections rather than listening to them, understanding customer needs, and figuring out how to harmonize the needs with the concerns. He didn't understand the customer's definition of success. He just started pitching his own, and he came across as really tone deaf. This type of selling makes the sale a contest, and in a sales contest, when you're in a contest with your customer, you always lose. So that's the first one from my feed. Here's the next one. This one spoke to me on a couple of different levels. As some of you know, I actually started my career selling new cars in 1990. And at Noller Ford in Topeka, we had a bump at the end of the driveway going out onto Topeka Boulevard that we called the $5,000 bump, because when people drove their new car over it, that's how much they lost in value. But there's another level that spoke to me on, and I'll explain it after we go through the post. The best way to buy a car is to buy a used one. Stop buying new cars unless you're a multimillionaire. I can already see it in the comments. But Drew, what about my 0% interest loan on a new car? What about my lease I can write off for my business? Depending on the car, you'll save 25 to 50% buying it 3 years old. You can still apply your favorite car strategies to a used car. Section 179 depreciation, leasing it for your business, financing it, and invest the money instead. I bought and leased used vehicles and implemented these same strategies. For instance, I leased a used Honda Pilot. To be honest, leasing a used Honda Pilot for your business is about as good as money move as you can make. Then for my next vehicle, I bought a 3-year-old BMW X5. BMW. I bought it for $35,000. The sticker price new was $70,000. It was over 6,000 pounds and was new to me, so I used Section 179 bonus depreciation. Want to argue about maintenance costs? There is no amount of maintenance a BMW X5 could have experienced to offset the fact that I bought it for $35,000 less than the prior owner. Stop buying new cars. It's one of the worst financial decisions you'll ever make. Okay, so this hit me on a couple levels. Some of you may know, I don't buy new cars. I've never bought a new car. The newest vehicle I've ever owned is my really, really nice, pristine 2008 Escalade that I drive as a daily driver. I love it. I'm an old car guy. That's my 67 Galaxy in the picture right behind me. I'm currently rebuilding a 47 Ford Coupe. The money that I would spend on new cars is stuff that's money I enjoy spending on my older cars instead. But here's where this ties back to sales. There's a thing in sales and sales management called toy motivation. It is something that some sales trainers actually push sales managers to do, and I'll be honest, I think it's immoral. There's a mentality out there that says one of the best ways to keep your salespeople hungry and engaged and honestly not being able to quit, is by having them bury themselves in debt by buying toys, new cars, new boats, jet skis, whatever. And the idea is keep them in debt so they never become financially comfortable. They're hungry and they're going to keep selling more for you. So basically, the sales manager is trying to bankrupt his or her salespeople. And I think that's just immoral. And the reason it's worth talking about is I actually heard it talked about at a convention a couple of weeks ago. And I'll be honest, I wanted to walk up the podium, just smack the guy. I have seen salespeople, good salespeople. I have seen good salespeople literally drive themselves into bankruptcy, which was destructive not only to their own finances, it ended up being destructive to their career. They're so worried about how they're going to make all this debt, they didn't have the headspace for actually focusing in on customer needs and selling. So if you're one of those sales managers that believes that keeping your salespeople motivated by toys is a way to keep them hungry, stop it! It doesn't work. Last one from my feed. This one was pretty cool because it goes to an issue I've talked about in sales a lot, and here it is. This is, by the way, this is actually coming from the perspective of a law firm, not a sales organization, but it ties so well. A partner I know well just lost a lateral hire. The lawyer was exceptional, but his $3.2 million book, they didn't move. Only $800,000 went with him. After 12 months in, only 2 clients and about $800,000 had come across in total. The managing partner wasn't angry at the lateral. Obviously, he understood it. What he couldn't understand was why nobody had pressure tested the number before the offer was signed. When a partner says my book is $3 million, they're usually telling the truth as they understand it. They genuinely believe those clients are theirs. What they might not have done is sat down and mapped is why each client came to them. Was it a personal relationship built over a decade, or was it work that came through the firm's existing client base? Is the GC loyal to that partner specifically, or to the broader team who work on their matters day to day? Before we run a senior lateral search now, we spend time with the hiring partner going through this before it becomes someone's expensive problem. Which clients moved the last time the lateral changed firms? Which ones didn't? Who else at the current firm touches those accounts? How long have those relationships actually been in play? That conversation usually produces a number that's more conservative at the headline, but it's a real number. And it changes how the firm structures the deal, sets expectations, and decides whether the hire still makes sense. Most of the time it does. A $2 to $3 million portable book at the right seniority and the right practice can be exactly what a team needs, but only if you know that's what you're buying. Okay, here's why this mattered to me. I see so many companies attempting to buy a book of business by hiring a salesperson away from the competition. And a salesperson will say, just like this guy, the salesperson will say, well, I've got $3 million of business I can bring with me. And then usually they'll bring somewhere between $750,000 and $1 million. My rule is typically this. If a salesperson, whatever a salesperson says they can actually bring between 1/4 and 1/3 of it, because in the customer's mind, they may love the salesperson, but most of the relationship goes to the company. Now, here's the real advice, and that is never hire a book of business. Never try to buy business by hiring someone who says they have a book of business. Because here's the other thing, and this wasn't touched on in that lawyer's conversation, but here is what I have seen. When that salesperson brings, say, 1/3 of what they said they're going to bring, they're going to camp out on it. And they're probably not going to do the things that continue to build business. When I'm involved in a hiring process, I don't want the book of business. What I want are the skills that enabled the building of the book of business. And one of the most disarming questions you can ask an interviewee is say, so let's suppose for whatever reason, absolutely none of those accounts come with you. What are you going to do to build a new book of business here? And a lot of times they don't have an answer for that. And when they don't, interview is over. Again, you guys know my philosophy. Don't hire from your competitors. But if you are going to hire from your competitors, don't hire based on a book of business. Hire based on a package of skills and a package of work habits. You will be much more successful. So that's from my feed this week. Now let's finish it off. Time for your quick win. When you begin engaging a new prospect, one of the things that new prospect is very likely to do to check you out is they're going to look at your company's Google reviews. And if your Google reviews aren't right, a lot of times you're not going to have an opportunity at that business, or at the very best scenario, you're going to have to discount significantly to try and get that business. Here's what that means for you. Here's the quick win. You need to be looking at your Google reviews all the time. You need to know what's on there, good and bad. The bad ones need to be responded to. Sometimes the good ones ought to be responded to too. You need to make sure that your overall index is high. Above a 4.5 is where I would want it. And that also means that you should have active programs going on all the time to gain and collect and get posted good Google reviews, because everybody makes mistakes. Everybody pisses people off, and sooner or later, you're going to have a bad Google review. So make sure you're managing your Google reviews. And that way, when you are talking to new prospects, they're not going to have big questions about where your Google reviews are. They're going to get positive reinforcement for the decision from that instead of getting a red flag. All right, that's been this week's Sales Without the BS. If this has been helpful, you know what to do. Subscribe to my channel. You're going to get a lot of great content every week from me. Like this video. You got an issue with something I said? Drop me a comment. Share it out. Anyway, that's been Sales Without the BS. I'm Troy Harrison, the Sales Navigator. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.